your watches. It's 11:47. It's Friday, the 12th of November, 2049. And we're here to hatch a plan, to save humanity. We are on the edge of extinction. The robots rule the streets. We're doing the jobs that they don't want. Climate change is a thing of the past. The air is putrid. Animals are extinct. And life, as we know it, is slipping through our hands. How did we get there? Today, 29. There is a global race for domination, and the use of AI to win at any cost is being used. We see Cambridge Analytica using sociographics, harvesting the likes from Facebook, and focusing specifically on neurosis to change our minds. We see short-termists. We see politicians and leaders for not just this year, but years preceding this year, looking at things from a short-termist view. Today, there are 192 million people globally without jobs. By 2030, that will have risen to 800 million. 65% of children entering school today will have jobs do not yet exist. And leaders around the world are putting the welfare of employees at the back of the queue. They are sacrificing their employees to win at any cost. There is another way. It's kindness. It's the unique quality that humans have that differentiates us from the robots. It's caring, it's empathy. It's seeing the whole picture. It's thoughtful action. When I was 7, I walked in to my kitchen, and for reasons I do not know why, my mum picked up a very heavy wooden mop and she swung it with great force, and it hit the back of my head. I remember feeling the blood running down my neck, and in that very moment, I felt lost and alone. And I ran, and I ran, and it was dark. And as I ran, we lived in the countryside. There were soldiers coming towards me because there was a manoeuvre. I didn't know at the time, but there was manoeuvres with the barracks. And there were about 50 soldiers running towards me with guns. So I ran and I ran, and I hid under a bush, and I was cold. It was horrible. And then his hand came into the bush, and it was a warm, inviting hand that came toward me. And I took that hand, and that person was a dog walker, and that person took me and helped clean me up. And that person gave me hope, which changed my world. In my early career, I had applied for a job that was completely underqualified for. I didn't speak any languages for a robotics company. And I walked into the office of a gentleman called Richard Blackburn. What a gentleman he was. He sounded like Richard Burton. Lovely. And I walked in with that same lost and alone feeling. And I got the job. He gave me a Mac, he gave me a project, and he said, I'm off for 3 weeks, I've got to go to the States. We'll talk about this project when I get back. And Richard gave me the hand of kindness that was believing in me. That belief opened up my world to absolutely ridiculous possibilities that I had never ever thought of. Moving on in my life and my journey. I grew, despite Mopgate at 7. My family love grew. My mum and dad, my brother Lawrence and I, we grew very strong as a family. And in my early 30s, unfortunately, my mum and dad lost their life. And I was devastated, as anybody would be. The friends of my mum took time out to write to me, and they wrote to me to tell me how much my mum loved me and how proud she was of me. And that gave me the courage to make my life count. And so I started Novacroft, which incidentally was the name of my mum's kennels because she had Labradors. 17 of them hairy beasts. So I started Novacroft. And actually in my career, what I'd seen in my career, in my corporate world, was that corporates in their culture sacrificed employees' welfare and well-being to win at any cost. So when I started Novacroft, the reason I started it was simply because I absolutely believe there is something amazing in absolutely everybody. And it's my responsibility to help ignite that talent, to find that person, to enable them to flourish so that they can make a difference. And if I can do that, then that's a fantastic legacy and I can die happy. Not yet. It's an organisation, it's a team of people, 300 strong as said. We're about integrating people, processes and technology to transform. And unlike our competitors who will promise the moon on a stick to win at any cost, we take the long-term view rather than the short-term view to nurture our clients. And that put our team in great demand. And so I thought at a point we were growing so fast that we could become victims of our own success. So I looked around at a leadership program, and that leadership program that I found was Cranfield University. And my dalliance with education in my early years was not a great one. Dyslexia got the better of me when I was young, so I was a little bit lost and alone again in terms of how I felt. But I recognised as soon as I got into that lecture room that I had an absolute thirst for learning. And I met a lady called Mary Helen Essam. And Mary Helen Essam took an interest in me, and she quenched my thirst. And as a result of that, my team Novacroft, we went on to revolutionise how people travel across London. We put the infrastructure in for the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games, and we've done so much more. And then recently, 4 years ago, I adopted my son. My partner and I were on a journey to build a family. And we decided that we would adopt. Because I was adopted, so what great way to give back. So we adopted a little boy who had terrible trauma in his early life. And we gave him a family and a sense of belonging and nurtured and loved. And he is flourishing and he's absolutely a joy. I wish he was here now. Well, probably not, because I'll probably cry. And you kind of might think, well, why am I telling you this? This is my journey, and it could have been completely different, really seriously different. And I might not be here today had it not been for that first hand of kindness. And all of those hands of kindness along the way have helped me, in turn, reach out and be kind to others and help others flourish and make a difference. So I'm telling you there is another way through kindness. And that is if we all embrace kindness and lead with kindness in a digital age, then we can have the heart of humanity at everything we do. AI can be used in a way that helps us thrive. It can change climate change. It can bring communities together. It can help humanity thrive for our children and our children's children. And I ask you one thing, my challenge to you today. My challenge to you today is to be kind to yourselves, is to take a moment. Please take a moment today to be kind to yourselves. Because as soon as you're kind to yourselves, then you can be kind to others. And imagine that one hand of kindness. Imagine what we could all achieve together. Thank you very much.